Opposed to, yeah, I did change, and I'm really glad I changed, because rather than getting drunk, falling out of... I don't think that we can ever have peace with my family unless the truth is out there. I believe that my family have been briefing the press solidly for well over a decade.
Okay, so here's a wild question. What if Buckingham Palace just pulled off the longest, coldest power move in royal history? And what if Harry and Meghan were so caught up in their own story that they didn't see the trap until it was way too late? Listen, the whole situation is actually insane. They walked away from the palace saying they wanted privacy, peace, a normal life for their kids, away from all the cameras and pressure. Sounds reasonable, right?
But when researchers looked into the medical records, they discovered something unsettling. The doctor said to have delivered Lilibet was...
Except they've done more interviews, documentaries, and tell-all confessions than any working royal in history. Like, way more. So the whole privacy thing, it's confusing to a lot of people because their actions tell a different story. But here's what's interesting. They left to protect Archie and Lilibet from the royal spotlight. But then those same kids kept appearing in their narrative when the moment called for it. Meghan would talk about how difficult palace life was, then turn around asking for the exact titles and recognition.
Did you know that Meghan Markle never takes her children to public events? Her eldest, Archie Harrison, he has not been given a princely title
From that same institution. It's kind of like having a falling out with someone, then still expecting to be on the guest list for their party. Now, the palace? They stayed quiet, didn't respond to the interviews, didn't engage with the Netflix series, just watched and waited. But that silence, it just shattered. And what they've done to Archie and Lilibet's place in royal history is more significant than any book or interview could ever be.
The media think that Harry could get any woman he wanted. Well, he might have been able...
Before we dive into how this actually played out, do me a favor. If you want to see what the palace did and how they moved without anyone catching on, go ahead and subscribe. Drop a like on this video and turn on your notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Because I'm about to show you exactly how the monarchy makes moves that fly completely under the radar. All right, let's get into it. All right, so to really get what just happened here, we need to go back. Way back. Like over a century back.
Have you ever seen that video?
No.
Pull that video up, because it's one of my favorite.
Many people doubt Meghan has long been a mother, following her attendance at...
Because this whole thing, it's not new, it's not some fresh drama. This is about a system that got locked into place in 1917, and nobody just gets to show up and rewrite it because it doesn't work for them. Get this. In 1917, King George V put out something called the Letters Patent. Now, I know that sounds super boring and official, but stick with me because this is actually the key to everything. This document basically laid out exactly who gets to be called a prince or princess in the royal family. It's the rulebook. Everyone follows it. No exceptions, no wiggle room. And here's what it says. 3 things need to happen for a kid to get that royal title. First, royal bloodline. Pretty straightforward. Second, proper birth registration within the crown's jurisdiction. And third, you need that religious connection through the Church of England. That's it. Those are the requirements. They don't change based on where you live or how many followers you have.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have revealed a rare new image of their kids, Archie and Lilibet. The picture...
Now listen, this wasn't set up to go after anyone specific. It was designed to keep the monarchy from turning into total chaos. Think about it. If there were no clear rules, every distant relative, every celebrity who married, and everyone with even a small connection could claim their kid deserves a royal title. That's not a functioning system anymore. That's a free-for-all. See, here's the thing about these century-old documents. They carry more weight than any TV interview, more than any streaming deal, more than any tearful moment on camera.
It's almost like it's not your child, it's the institution's child. She's saying, no, this is my baby. I was there when she brought him.
The palace doesn't operate on feelings or what's trending. It operates on what's been established for generations. And here's why they can't just bend those rules, even slightly. Once you make one exception, you've opened the door. Suddenly, everyone's asking for special treatment. Everyone's got a reason why their situation is different. And the whole foundation starts crumbling. Love them or think they're outdated, you can't deny one thing about the royals. Order is everything to them. Structure is how they've lasted this long.
Why does Meghan always hide her kids' faces? No one realized it's her way of getting attention. Not long ago, photos of Meghan visiting.
And they're definitely not throwing that away. So, what happened with Harry and Meghan? They took a shot. They figured their fame, their media presence, their ability to shape the conversation could push Buckingham Palace into bending those old rules, into making an exception because, well, it's them. But the palace, they just pointed back to 1917, reminded everyone that institutions don't shift because you've got a good story. Systems don't care about your platform. And those dusty rules, they matter way more than anyone realized.
Before her royal chapter ever began, a child allegedly born during her teenage years. And if true,
turns out the game was already decided before it even started. Okay, so May 2019, Archie arrives. And this should have been the perfect royal baby moment, right? The kind of thing Britain does better than anyone. Announcements, excitement, the whole world watching. Should have been straightforward, and except it totally wasn't. At first, everything looked fine. Palace put out the official announcement. People celebrated. Harry and Meghan did the photo thing with the newborn. All the usual stuff you'd expect. But then something weird happened that honestly got people...
Hello, folks. So, Meghan Markle has been in Paris.
talking. Archie's birth certificate got changed, like altered after it was already on file, and not in some small way either. Here's what happened. Meghan's actual name just disappeared from the document, completely gone. Instead of saying Rachel Meghan, which is what's on her birth certificate, it suddenly just said Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. Just the title. No personal name attached to it at all. Now, you might be thinking that doesn't sound like a big deal, but in royal world,
something is seriously off about the way Meghan Markle and Prince Harry handled the births of their children. And now it's all...
That's huge because it had literally never been done before. Not with Diana, not with Kate. When their kids were born, their real names stayed right there on the certificates. Full names, no edits, no mysterious changes weeks later. So, what's the deal? Why did Meghan's name get removed? Was it something she wanted? Did the palace make her do it? Was someone trying to shift how Archie's status looked from the beginning? The thing is, nobody really came out and explained it. There was no, here's why this happened moment.
I almost don't believe this day has finally come, but we finally have confirmation Archie and Lilibet, the children of Prince Harry.
It just got done quietly. And that one change opened up a lot of questions. People started talking, started wondering what it actually meant, because in a family where literally every tiny detail follows the same patterns it's followed for decades, when something breaks that pattern, everyone notices. Think about it this way. Birth certificates aren't just random paperwork. They're official legal documents that stick around forever. You don't just casually go back and edit them on a whim, especially not for a royal...
Why had Buckingham Palace, which confirmed every detail of William and Kate's births, refused to clarify...
Baby, where everything's supposed to be documented perfectly. Every royal kid before Archie had their stuff line up exactly with tradition. Clean, predictable, standard procedure. But Archie's looked different. It stood out, and when you stand out in the monarchy system, that's not just an accident. That's the institution saying something without actually coming out and saying it. The world saw this adorable baby in blankets. saw the parents looking happy, saw what seemed like a totally normal royal birth.
Did you know that Meghan's mother was in prison several times in 2002, during the time Meghan began her acting career? Her mother...
But if you actually looked at the paperwork, at the behind-the-scenes stuff most people ignore, something else was happening. The documents were already suggesting that maybe Archie's spot in the royal setup wasn't quite as locked in as everyone thought. It's kind of like when someone changes the locks on their door but won't tell you why. You definitely notice. And you can't help but wonder what's really going on. All right, so if Archie's birth raised some eyebrows, Lilibet's arrival, that took things to a whole other level.
Have you ever seen a single moment so tiny, so ordinary, and yet so explosive that it changes everything in front of...
June 2021, she's born in California, and right from the start, it's different. There's no announcement from Buckingham Palace, no official bulletin posted outside, no balcony appearance, none of that traditional royal baby stuff that usually happens. Instead, what happens? Harry and Meghan's team puts out a press release. That's it. Now look, for most celebrity couples, that's completely normal. You announce your kid, people congratulate you, life goes on. But we're talking about someone born into a royal family here.
Meghan Markle just dropped a bombshell. Lilibet was born via surrogate, and she lied to the palace about it. What is this?
And historically, royal babies have gotten at least some kind of nod from the palace. That's just how it's always worked. Except with Lilibet, there wasn't one. No statement from the Queen, no formal record added at the palace, nothing showing that her birth had registered with the institution at all. And this wasn't somebody forgetting to do paperwork. This was deliberate. Here's why that matters. When the palace officially acknowledges a birth, it's not just being polite. It's actually weaving that child into the historical record.
Bravo! Yay!
It's connecting them to centuries of documentation. It's saying, this person is part of the official lineage. By not saying anything at all, the palace was basically showing where things stood. And when you compare it to other royal births, the difference is pretty striking. Think about when William and Kate's kids were born. Announcements everywhere, official celebrations. This whole, here's the next chapter of the family energy. Those births got treated as significant moments for the institution itself. Lilibet's birth got handled more like a private family matter.
The world gasped when photos emerged of Prince Harry and his daughter, Lilibet, enjoying a 4th of July parade in...
It was personal, sweet, about Harry and Meghan becoming parents again. But it wasn't connected to the palace or the official royal setup at all. In that world, when they don't say anything, that actually means something. Silence carries its own message. What it came down to was this. She's their daughter, no question. But from an institutional standpoint, she wasn't being included in the formal structure. She wasn't getting woven into that historical fabric. She existed separately from it, and most people probably didn't think much about it at the time. They saw the family photos, thought the name was cute, moved on.
Well, this morning was different because Archie has a cold, so he's home from school. But I get up at 6:30 and gives me...
But if you know how these things typically work, how much weight the palace puts on official acknowledgments and keeping records, the fact that they didn't respond at all. That told the whole story. It wasn't about her as a kid, it was about where she fit in the formal system. And the answer was pretty clear from the silence. Okay, so now we get to the baptism thing. And this is where it gets really interesting, from how the institution works. In the royal family, baptisms aren't just family ceremonies.
Did you notice the difference in Kate and Meghan's baby bumps? Obviously, someone's lying. As a mother of 3, Kate attended public duties multiple times.
They're actually way bigger than that. It's a formal tie between the child and the Church of England. And since the monarchy and the church are connected at the hip, that baptism basically links the kid to the whole system. It's ceremony, history, and official recognition all happening at once. For Lilibet, yeah, there was a baptism, March 2023. Happened in California, they had friends there, made it personal and special for their family. That all definitely went down. But here's where it gets tricky.
Did you see Meghan Markle's latest look? She rocked a black crew neck with Archie and Lily embroidered on the neckline, subtle yet...
The Church of England never put it in their official records. And that part, that actually matters. See, every royal baby before her had their baptism written into the Church of England's books. It becomes part of the spiritual history of the whole setup. This chain that goes back forever, connecting everyone who's been officially part of it. When you're in those records, you're linked to that entire historical thing the monarchy runs on, but Lilibet's got handled differently, more like a private family thing. You know how regular families have their kids baptized at their church or...
Have you noticed that both of Meghan's children have almost no African traits? Usually children inherit traits from both parents, but Meghan's children...
Wherever feels right to them. That's more what this looked like. Meaningful to them, important personally, but separate from the official royal system. So she's in this interesting spot. Her parents celebrated it, she's growing up loved in their home, but from where the institution sits, she's not in their documentation, not connected to that chain they care so much about. For a setup that's built entirely on keeping records and tracking lineage, when someone's missing from the paperwork,
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry photographed on a sushi date in California. Last week, they celebrated their son Archie.
That means something. It's not about whether the moment mattered to the family. It's about whether it registers in their formal structure. Without that Church of England stamp, Lilibet basically sits outside the framework. Her baptism happened, no doubt, but it didn't happen in the way that ties her into the royal religious tradition. It was their ceremony in California, not a crown ceremony in England. The way the palace looks at it, it's not complete. Not because nothing happened, but because it didn't go through their official process.
Meghan Markle is pregnant again. Do you know her two children? The first is son Archie, born in 2019.
And in their world, when something doesn't check all their boxes, they treat it like it's not fully there. Think of it this way. Imagine you took a whole college course, showed up every day, did all the assignments, learned everything, but you never officially enrolled. So when you look at the school system, there's no record you were ever in that class. Doesn't matter that you did the work. According to them, it didn't happen. That's pretty much what's going on here. To the family,
Meghan Markle's carefully curated public image is now cracking under the pressure of years of hidden whispers.
That moment was absolutely real and important. But to the institution, it's like it never happened at all. All right, so here's where things start getting complicated for them. Think about what their whole public presence is built around. It's that royal connection, right? That's what everything traces back to. The documentaries, the interviews, the deals, all of it connects to the fact that they were part of that family. But here's what happens when the institutional backing starts pulling away. When it becomes clear the kids aren't officially part of that system.
It's no wonder Meghan and Harry don't want to expose their children. The rumors surrounding both kids never stop.
The whole setup starts to look different. They built this massive brand around being insiders who chose a different path. The story of balancing royal expectations with wanting something else. That's what resonated with people. But that story needs the connection to stay meaningful. You've got to still be linked to what you're talking about for it to carry weight. When the children aren't formally recognized, though, it shifts things. The identity that got carefully built doesn't sit quite the same way.
They're 3 and 5. They're amazing. But all you want to do as parents is protect them. And so as we can...
Because if the kids aren't part of the ongoing royal story, what does that mean for how everything else is positioned? The documentaries offering that inside perspective, they land differently when the institution has basically drawn a line. It goes from, here's the current reality, to more of, here's what our experience was. Past tense instead of present. The memoir positioning Harry as someone navigating this complicated family situation, it reads differently too when the palace won't put his children in their formal records.
Even though Meghan has $100 million, she can never buy her daughter Princess Charlotte's future title. Meghan may be wealthier than...
It's tougher to be the voice sharing royal insights when the institution has separated your family from their official narrative. And here's how people tend to see Archie and Lilibet in all this. Without the formal recognition, they're viewed as kids growing up in California. They've got famous parents, they're definitely living well, but they're separate from the actual royal system and history that keeps coming up in their parents' work. For both of them, but especially given how much of the post-royal career involves that royal background.
Did you know that Meghan used her own biological children for attention? In order to increase the popularity of the show, Meghan recently planned a...
Losing that institutional connection creates challenges. The ventures, the partnerships, the way they're positioned publicly, a lot of it draws from having had that official Duchess role. But when the palace signals the children aren't in their structure, it's kind of saying the connection isn't what it used to be. They're not in the same position as people who are actively woven into the monarchy's current story. The kids exist on a different track from that. Instead of being seen as still connected to royal continuity,
Just can't quite see his face.
Then just 3 days on.
Notice how when they are...
There's a shift toward being viewed as separate from it, building something that references a connection that's changed form, drawing on something that isn't accessible in the same way anymore. And in celebrity culture, in royal circles, how you're perceived matters tremendously. Your positioning, what you represent, how people understand your story. That shapes pretty much everything. When the institution steps back its recognition, when it makes clear you're operating outside their system, how you're seen starts to change.
So Meghan Markle, she decided to post pictures of her kids on set with her for the Netflix show, I guess to try and drum up attention. So
the position shifts from being someone who stepped back while staying connected to being someone who's now on the outside looking back. Those are two really different places to be, and it affects how everything works moving forward. Okay, so for Harry, this whole situation wasn't just about paperwork and protocols. This was hitting on a personal level. From what's been reported, he tried working things out behind the scenes, multiple conversations trying to figure out if there was a way to keep his kids connected to that world he grew up in.
Queen Elizabeth gave Meghan's child a cheap gift, but left half of her jewelry collection to Princess Charlotte. Despite all of Meghan's...
But apparently, each time he'd have these talks, the answer stayed the same. Basically, this is how the system's set up, and it doesn't work differently for anyone. Think about his perspective for a second. He spent his whole childhood and adult life inside that world. He knows exactly what being included looks like, what it means to be part of all that history. And now he's seeing his own kids positioned outside of it. That's not an easy thing to watch. People around him say he's been in this tricky position.
Why does Meghan always hide her children's faces? No one realizes that this is part of a scheme against the royal family. Recently, Meghan has been using her...
Wanting things to work out differently, hoping maybe there's some path forward while watching these institutional decisions happen around his family. For him, it's not just about rules on paper, it's about whether his kids stay connected to something that was his entire world growing up. That makes it personal in a way that goes deeper than titles or official documentation. Now, from the other side, the institutions looking at this through a totally different lens. They've got centuries of how things have been done, systems that have stayed consistent for generations.
Why would Charles rather accept a Chinese child than see Meghan's kids? Recently, a Chinese child almost drove Meghan to jealousy. The boy's name is Wolf.
And their whole approach is that personal situations don't change the framework. Doesn't matter how someone feels about it or what they're hoping for. So every time Harry would try to find middle ground, it just kept showing how different these two approaches are. He's building a new life in California, doing things his own way, and the palace is still running on the same playbook it's used forever. Those two things just don't mesh. What makes it tougher is he knows what it feels like to be on the inside. That was his reality for decades until he went a different route.
Mood. Mother Markle is what? A whole mood. Would you?
He had that connection, that sense of being part of something that goes back centuries. Now, his kids are growing up with a completely different experience. The hard part here isn't about effort or how much he wanted it. The hard part is that the system doesn't operate based on wanting something or feeling strongly about it. It runs on structure that stays the same, no matter who's involved or what the situation is. He could push for his kids to be included as much as he wanted. But the way things are set up, it's not designed to bend for individual situations.
There's something deeply unsettling when a story, one that's been carefully shaped for years, starts to fall apart under the weight of...
It's designed to work the same way regardless. That's maybe the toughest thing to sit with. It wasn't about whether he tried enough or cared enough. The outcome was already determined by how the system functions, way before this ever became a conversation. All right, so this is where everything got put down in writing. All those quiet decisions that had been building up over time finally got turned into actual legal documentation. The palace made formal moves that basically locked in what years of not saying anything had already been showing.
Do you know who Meghan Markle's 2 children are? First, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's first child is Archie Harrison.
Archie and Lilibet were going to be positioned outside the main royal structure, not just unofficially anymore, but officially on paper now. So what does that actually look like? In real terms, the automatic things people might have assumed about their status got clarified as not being there. The titles, how they show up in official records, how they'd be handled in formal situations. All that got spelled out as not being part of their setup. For something like the monarchy, these kinds of moves don't just happen overnight.
Of one, Meghan Markle, Duchess of Duchess of Sussex. Remember, it's not safe.
There's time involved, legal steps to go through, and once they're done, they stick around for the long haul. It's not the kind of thing that gets brought back up or changed later. What it comes down to is whether you're part of the official structure or you're not. It's not about anyone being more or less valued, just about where you fit in the formal system. The kids' names will still be everywhere. People are still going to follow their story, still be interested in what's going on with them. But if you go look at the actual documentation the monarchy keeps, the official family records, they won't show up there the same way other royal kids do. That puts these kids in an unusual spot. They didn't pick this, didn't choose to be in the middle of all these institutional decisions, but they're going to grow up dealing with how things landed based on stuff that happened before they could have any say. From the institution's view, this is about keeping things running smoothly, making sure the systems that have worked for centuries stay consistent, not letting situations that don't fit the usual pattern create complications.
No farewell message to patients. She simply walked away from $1 million practice. Her husband, as it turns out, runs a private
down the road. From the outside looking in, though, it can seem pretty final, like they're setting something in stone without leaving much wiggle room for things to change later. But that's kind of always been how the monarchy operates. The structure is what matters most. Individual situations take a backseat. Staying consistent is how they've made it this far. For Archie and Lilibet, what this means practically is they're separated from the official part of that heritage, the part their dad lived his whole life inside of.
Children usually inherit traits from both parents. This is very unusual, and some people even question if he is really Meghan's child.
They're still connected through family, through their name, through the story, just not through the institution's official channels. Things wrapped up quietly. No big announcements, no press conferences, just documentation getting processed and filed away. Legal language making official what had already been the reality for a while. It's one of those situations where what's written down matters way more than what gets said out loud. Once it's in the official system, once the legal position is set.
I know that publishers love chopping up well-researched books, without any hesitation.
But Meghan's alleged marriage?
That's what determines how everything moves forward from here. So here's where everything lands. Archie and Lilibet aren't going to have their names in the official royal records like other royal kids do. They're growing up in California, away from all the palace stuff, loved by their parents, but in this interesting spot where they're connected to royalty through family without being part of the formal system. What went down here was bigger than just some documents getting signed. It shows how the monarchy actually works, how it keeps its structure the same and stays consistent no matter what.
In all honesty, predict. I don't know whether they will ever get divorced.
Individual situations come up. And that's going to matter way beyond just this one family's situation. These kids are going to be okay. They'll grow up with plenty of opportunities, people who love them, freedom to do their own thing without royal expectations hanging over them. But they'll also know they were close to being part of something their dad spent his whole life in. Close, but on a different track. Their parents wanted recognition, built their story a certain way, tried doing things differently than how it's always been done.
Africa and Colombia earlier this year. A message on the card reads, "We wish you a very happy holidays."
And the system basically responded with, "This is how we operate, and that doesn't change based on who's involved or what the circumstances are." Which leaves this question on the table. Did anyone really see how this was going to play out? Could fame and public attention ever actually change something that's been running the same way for more than 100 years? Or were those two approaches just never going to meet in the middle? Turns out, pretty simple answer. The monarchy operates on structure that stays put.
Become, and that's exactly what Meghan wants. Remember when Archie was born? Meghan rushed to show him off, hoping he'd get the same attention as
And once that became obvious, everything else followed the pattern they've always used. But here's what's interesting. This didn't just pop up out of nowhere. The early signs were there way before most people caught on. The decisions that led here started way back, before this was even a big conversation. If you want to see how it all connects, how those early moments set the stage for what happened later, check out my previous video. Once you see the whole timeline, how things were already heading this direction years back, it all makes a lot more sense. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the system was doing what it's designed to do, or do you think things could have gone a different way? I want to hear your take. Go watch that previous video. You'll see how the pieces were already moving way before this became the story everyone's talking about.